In this session, we will review how to modify accounts. Going to Accounts, then clicking on Modify Account. There are 4 different options for looking up a customer account. The first option is to look up the member by their account number. You would type in the member's account number and click Go to have their account pull up on the screen for you. You can also search for a member by looking up their last name, and you can do so by starting to type in the first few letters of their last name, and you will see that a list will populate for you in which you can select their name right from the list, and that will bring up the customer for you on the Modify Account screen. You can also search for members by email address and phone number if you so choose. Once you have the customer account on the Modify Account screen, you can modify any of the fields that you see here. You will notice that this particular screen is broken up into sections. So the first section is the customer's personal information. If you would like to update any of the fields in this area, you can simply just click in the field that you would like to update, delete or type in the new information that you would like, and definitely click on Save Changes toward the bottom left corner to ensure that those updates are kept in the system. Taking a look at some of the modification icons that we have along the left side of the screen, beginning with Change Pay Method. If a customer is wanting to completely change the way that they are paying for their membership, such as switching from a credit card to a bank account, or from a bank account to a credit card, you would be able to pull up their account under Modify Account and select Change Pay Method. Here you have different payment options, and you would simply select the payment option that the customer is switching to, and then click Next at the bottom. This will give you the screen where you can type in that new billing information that they're going to be using moving forward, and click Next to save that on the customer's account. The next icon is called Change Barcode. Change Barcode is to be used if you're wanting to change the customer's membership account number in the system. If they have lost or misplaced maybe their key tag or scan card and you're having to give them a new one, you would want to update that particular number on their account. So you can access this information under Modify Account and then click on Change Barcode. Here you will see the original account number that was given to them, and you would be able to type in the new card number that you're issuing under New Account Number and click Next to save this customer now under the new number. The next icon is called Cancel Member, and you can utilize this icon if you're wanting to cancel a member effective immediately as of today. Once you click Cancel Member, it will tell you here, warning, all pay method information will be erased. Continue with canceling this account. And that is true. Once you cancel a member this way, any billing information that has been set up on the account will be automatically removed, and you will no longer be able to bill this particular member in the system. And then it asks remove record when compressing files, and you would just select no for that option. There is a checkbox called Cancel Linked Accounts, where if you wanted to cancel any sub-accounts or persons linked to this member in the system, you would be able to do so all at the same time. And then you have a reason for canceling section if you wish to notate why the person is canceling at this time. Once you've made your selections, you would click Continue. And some immediate changes that we'll notice that's been made to the account is the expiration date for the membership has automatically been changed to today's date, the day that we clicked Cancel Member. Under their account status code, that code has been changed from its original setting to now saying XX, which in Club System stands for an officially canceled account. And you will notice how both of these fields are highlighted in bright yellow just to draw your attention to these areas when you're looking at this account in the system. And as the warning told us on the previous screen, all billing information has been erased, and it now just says that it is a canceled account. If you're wanting to reinstate this member, you can click Reinstate Member. This will just take you through the steps of resetting up their payment method to make this customer active again and start to bill again for their membership. Transaction history is next. And transaction history would show you a history of all transactions for the customer from their automated monthly dues that we are processing every month for their membership, as well as any point-of-sale transactions that have been attached to their account. Point-of-sale transactions are summarized here. You're not going to see the full detail of what the transaction was for. You will simply see that it is a POS transaction under the description column, just indicating that this indeed was a transaction that was processed through the point of sale. And you can see under transaction type whether it was a sale, a payment, or a credit. And then you will also see the transaction numbers under the column called invoice number. So you will notice that these receipt numbers are highlighted in blue. And if you were needing further detail as to what exactly this transaction was for, you can click on that specific receipt number to have that transaction open up for you so you can see the details of what was purchased, etc. Post-transaction is next. And post-transaction is where you can go to post a manual transaction to the member account. This particular area is typically used for bookkeeping, whether you are wanting to increase the customer's balance or decrease their balance by a particular amount, or maybe completely waive their balance off of their account and bring them to a zero balance. This is where you can go to do that for this customer's account. Anything done here is not going to tie into the point of sale at all. This is just simply manipulating or changing the balance that's showing on the member account at this time. So starting with the two icons that we have on either end, sale and miscellaneous debit, these both perform the same function in that whatever is posted as a sale here and that amount will go as owing onto the member account. So if you have a need to manually post an owing amount to the customer account, you can utilize sale or miscellaneous debit to perform that function. The two green tabs that we have labeled as credit and miscellaneous credit both perform the same function in that whatever amount that you specify as a credit or a miscellaneous credit, that amount will be deducted from any owing balance that's on the member account. So whether you're deciding to waive part of their balance off, or maybe the customer has assessed a return fee because their monthly transaction did not go through and you're wanting to remove that particular return fee, this is where you go to deduct a specific amount from a member's current balance. So you could post it either as a credit or miscellaneous credit. You can give it a reference as to why you're posting this credit at this time. And once you complete the posting of this credit, you will see that the customer's balance has been reduced by the amount that you specify. Keep in mind that these credit options are not to be used for refunds or returns. This option here is not going to put money back onto someone's credit card or give them a credit back onto their bank account or anything like that. If you are actually wanting to refund someone that's been possibly misbilled or billed the incorrect amount, that is to be performed as a return through the point of sale area. So your point of sale screen processing it as a return will ensure that the funds are put back onto the customer's credit card. What we see here under post-transaction again is to simply manipulate or change the balance that we see, and if we're using the credit options, it will reduce the customer's balance by the amount that you're specifying. You will notice that you do have an icon labeled payments. This is if you would like to manually post a payment to a customer account. This will come in handy for those facilities that maybe are not using the point of sale in club systems. If you have a separate point of sale system in which you run payments through, but you are wanting to notate on club systems that the customer has paid, you can definitely post a payment here, and that will go against any balance that they may have showing on their account. For those facilities that are using club systems and the point of sale through club systems, you should be processing your payments as a received payment under point of sale. And to know how to do that or receive further instructions on that, please refer to the training session titled Point of Sale. So here we would be able to notate maybe a check number that was received. We can reference as to what it was for, and then certainly the amount, and that payment would go against any balance and be reflected that it was paid. There is an icon here called Return Check Credit Card. This is where you can go to manually post a return to a member account. If a customer wrote a check there in-house at the facility and maybe that check has bounced or did not clear for payment and you want to post that as an owing amount on the customer account, you can utilize this icon for such a purpose. So you can come in here and notate the check number, reference as to why we're posting this, whether it was an NSF check or what have you, or account closed, whatever the return reason was. You can specify the amount that the check was for, and if you charge any service fee or return fee on top of that because it bounced, and then once you click finish, that amount would go onto the customer account as an owing balance. And then finally, the last icon that we have here is called Late Payment. If you wanted to manually post a late payment fee to a customer account, you would be able to do that here as a one-time late payment, and any amount that you specify here will get added to any balance that they have on their account. Okay, our next icon is called View Notes. View Notes is where you would be able to go in and see if any notes have been made on this customer's account. Post Notes is right next to it, where you can go in and post new notes to the customer account. View Links is where we can go and see anyone linked to this person in the system or any sub-accounts that they may have. View Visits is where we can go to pull up a history of this customer's check-ins, if that is something that we're needing to review. Print Statement is where you can go and print off a one-time statement for the customer if they're requesting a statement be sent to them or emailed to them. This would give you all the basic information that you would need. It will have the club information at the top, the customer information, what their membership account number is in the past 30 days of transactions with any owing balance that possibly that they would have at this time. So you can definitely print this off and mail it to someone, or you can save it as a file and email it to someone if that is what they're requesting. Record Communication is next. Record Communication is kind of a way of notating a customer account, but specific to phone calls. If we've received an incoming phone call from this customer, or maybe we as the employee have made an outbound call to that customer, you can come in and do a record communication. And this is just simply notating that we either made an took an incoming call from the person or made an outbound call to the person, and note as to what the call was about. This comes in handy especially if you have a sales team within your facility that works closely with members and you want to see an accurate and detailed history of communication between the staff and the members. This is a great tool to use for that. And you certainly can go under your wizards, under main reports, and be able to pull a report of communication via phone call between ourselves, the employees, and the members. Add Services is next. If we go to a member account and would like to add a service to their account, you would click on Add Services, and this will bring up the menu of services that you have at your facility. You would simply check off what is needing to be added to the customer at this time. Make sure that the amount is correct as far as what they're going to be billed monthly for their service, and set a start date as to when the billing for this service is to begin. An end date is also available here if they're signing up for a service for a specific time period, and we would need that to end on a specific month and year. You can set that accordingly. or you can definitely leave it open-ended to December 2099, and that just means this service in particular would be continuously billed to the customer every month. So if we have added a service here, you would just click Save at the bottom. And just clicking Save changes to refresh my screen. We'll notice that the View Modify Services area has now changed. It went from just the plain white font to now being highlighted in yellow with an asterisk, and it's just drawing your attention there to let you know that there is something now under this area of View Modify Services. So if we now click on View Modify Service, we should be able to see the one that we just added, and we do. Here's the child care monthly service that I've added to this account. So that brings us into this next icon called View Modify Service. So whether you want to view any services that the customer may have on their account or make changes or updates to that service, this is where you would go to do that. So taking a look at this service, some of the modifications that you can make is definitely update the amount field. If their payment amount monthly is going to change for the service, you can certainly change the payment amount and click Save to ensure that that's updated in the system. You can make changes to the start date and the end date. If this customer maybe has canceled the service and you want to make sure that they do not bill further for it, you can set an end date to the service so they don't bill past the month and year that you've set in this area. Just make sure that you're always clicking Save at the bottom. And then finally, if you'd like to just simply remove and delete this line item altogether, you just want to remove the service from the screen, the way to do that is to check the small box off to the far left that's next to the service name and then click Save. And then if I click Save Changes just once again to refresh our screen, we'll see that that particular View Modify Services area has gone back to normal. So it's no longer yellow. If we were to click on this now, we see that there's no service there. So that is how to delete a service from a customer's account. Change history is next. This is a great tool you have to be able to go in and see when certain changes have been made, who out of your employees have made these changes, etc. Now, in our system, when you update things like billing information, if you've made major changes to the account, like changing their expiration date, changing their billing dates, things of that nature, adding services, deleting services, all of those changes are reflected here under the change history, and it is all in chronological order, starting with the oldest change at the top and the most recent changes all the way at the bottom of the list. So here we can see the most recent change, which was when I deleted the service for this customer. So it will definitely tell you the date, the time, what the change was, and who is the employee that made that change. Keep in mind that this does not keep a history of things like an address change, phone number, or email changes, but more so just the major changes that have taken place on the member account. So this is a great place to look if you do notice maybe some sort of a discrepancy or you're wanting to know why an account is set up the way it is. Definitely come into the account and click on Change History, and it will be able to show you when those changes were made and who made those changes on the account. Save Changes is where we go to definitely save a change, but also to refresh the screen after we've made changes as well. The next icon that we see is called Series. Series is where you would be able to go to see any series items that this customer has purchased through point of sale. Items such as personal training sessions or packages. You would be able to see what the particular package is called, and then you would have a session count as to how many sessions they have left within that package. And then the last icon that we have is called Workout. So if your facility does keep track of workouts that customers are doing, if the customer is working with maybe a trainer in which their results need to be recorded and kept up with, there is a built-in workout tab that you have for each member account in which you would be able to click on this particular icon and definitely come in and record some of the results for the workouts that the customer is actually doing. Aside from the modification icons that you see here, you definitely can come in and make specific changes to a member account depending on what you're wanting to do. So just starting with needing to put an account on freeze or hold. Okay, so if a member comes in and wants to put their account on freeze, there's a couple of changes that you would have to make to their account to ensure that this, is done properly. So starting with bringing up the customer account here on Modify. The first thing we would do is scroll down to the section that's called Account Information, and specifically here in the right section where it says Freeze and Thaw Date. We would want to make adjustments to these dates to reflect the time frame that the customer is going to put their account on hold for. So your freeze date would be when the hold is going to start, and then your thaw date would be when they're coming off of that hold. So notating the dates accordingly. It's important to notate that these particular dates do not affect someone's billing for membership or services whatsoever. What these will directly affect is the customer's checking in capability. So simply just coming in and changing these dates alone is not going to stop the customer from billing. All it will do is restrict their checking in, and if they were trying to check in during the time that they're on freeze, your front desk would be able to see that not only are they red screening, but they're red screening specifically because their account is currently on hold, and they would be able to see that directly from the check-in screen. If you are also not wanting to bill the member during this time that they're on hold, we do definitely have to come down specifically in this billing information section. So you do have a begin date for billing, you have an end date for billing. So in this case, the customer is being put on a freeze from January 1st through September 1st, and they're going to start drafting again in September. So I would just need to tell the system that here in this billing section. So we would actually change our begin date and push that out to the next month and year we want the customer to bill in. So in this case, since their next draft is going to be in September, I would just simply change it to September 2016 and leave the end date as open-ended. So basically this is telling the system, do not bill this customer until September. We'll pick them up in September, and then it will just be ongoing after that point based on this end date. And you would save your changes, and that's pretty much all you would have to do. Now, if the customer comes in early, says, I'm ready to come back, I don't need to keep it on hold any longer, you would just simply come in here and make your adjustments. So the way to adjust that, if they're ready to come back, is you would go ahead and just adjust these dates back to the normal 12/31/99. For both fields, they're no longer on the hold for checking in restrictions. And then as far as their billing is concerned, we would just make sure that the begin date is set up to be for current billing. And you would save that change. Now, if you have a customer that's wanting to place their account on hold, whether it be for medical reasons or for some extended period of time in which you don't really know when they're going to come back, you can set up the account for some sort of an indefinite freeze. So the way you would do that is come back down to the freeze and thaw dates. Definitely notate when this hold is going to begin. But then as far as your thaw date is concerned, we would just leave that open-ended since we don't really know when the hold is going to end for the customer until they come in and notify us. So once they come in and notify that they can be taken off the hold, you would be able to come in and adjust the dates accordingly. But definitely set a freeze begin date and just leave the thaw date open-ended since we don't know when it's going to come off the hold. And again, this is only going to affect their checking in capability. And as far as billing is concerned, instead of changing the begin date in this case, since we don't know when they're going to come back to bill them, then we would just go ahead and set an end date. Just go ahead and completely end the billing. That way they're not continuously billing for this membership that they have on hold, and we're not quite sure when they're going to come back to restart that membership. Once they do come in and give you notification, you will definitely always be able to come back in here and make adjustments to these dates. It's just really important to remember that when it comes to member billing, the system really just looks at this specific section that's set up for the billing and looking at these dates to tell the system when to begin drafting the member and when to stop drafting the member. So within that same realm of billing and possibly stopping the billing and things of that nature, we're going to take a look at how to set up an account on a pending cancellation. If the majority of your members are required to give you some sort of advance notice, whether it's a 30-day notice, 60-day notice, we would then set them up for what's called a pending cancellation. Now, we took a look at how to cancel someone effective immediately as of this moment by using Cancel Member, but setting someone up as a pending cancellation is handled a little bit differently. So now that we're in the member account under Modify Account, and I'm just going to change some of these dates back just so it looks like a normal account here. If somebody has come in to cancel, and if your policy is that that customer has to give a 30-day notice, there are a few steps that you would do to ensure that the customer account is set up correctly for that pending cancellation. So once we have them pulled up here under the Modify Account screen, our first step would be to scroll down to the Account Information section and start with adjusting the expiration date. If the customer is going to pay one more month, then you would want to reflect on their expiration date as to when their usage of the club would be up. So in this case, I'm just going to use the example of a customer that bills on the 1st. They've already billed for May 1st. They're going to do a 30-day notice, so they're going to bill one more time on June the 1st. So I'm going to give them to the end of June for their expiration. The second step would be to adjust their code. We would put them on a PX or pending cancellation code. Now this code in particular will not cause someone to red screen. The member will still be able to use the facility and check in as normal without any restrictions or red screens stopping them from checking in, because I've set their expiration date to June 30th in this case, and having them on the PX code is just kind of a reminder that this person is going to be canceling soon, but this is not going to restrict them from being able to check in. Also, just as a reminder, changing the expiration date is only going to affect the person's checking in capability. This is not going to automatically stop their billing. So we've adjusted their expiration date, we've changed their status code to PX for pending cancellation, and then the third and final step would be to come down to their billing information section and make sure that we now set an end date for their billing. Setting an end date to their billing will ensure that they don't continue to bill on for this membership past the time that they're supposed to, and we would just go ahead and click Save Changes. Once those adjustments have been made, your customer account will not automatically cancel out after this point, but rather they're going to be sitting in here as being an expired account. I will show you a shortcut on how to officially cancel these members out that have been set to this PX code. But just to kind of refresh our thoughts and memory on how to properly stop the billing, when it comes to stopping the billing, you definitely have to set an end date on this main billing screen. But keep in mind, if you are utilizing our services in any way, shape, or form, if you've set up services for your system and you do have your member accounts billing for different services, it's important to remember that you have to go back to that separate View Modify Service screen and make sure that the end dates are set there as well. Now this person in particular does not have any services because we did delete that service earlier on in the demo. But if your customer does have services, you're going to know that because this area will be highlighted in bright yellow and have the asterisk next to it, and that's just drawing your attention there to say, hey, we have something back here that's also billing. So keep that in mind. Whether you're freezing a member account or canceling a member account, any changes that we make on the front billing, we have to make sure to do the exact same thing on the service billing screen, because that is considered to be a separate billing screen. And just because we change something on the front, that will not automatically transfer back to that service screen, being that it has its own begin and end dates for the service billing there as well. Okay, so just to take a look at now how to cancel out officially all of these PX accounts. By doing this additional step of putting it to a PX code, it will save on some work in the long run. let's say it's the end of June or the beginning of July, and you want to go ahead and officially cancel out all the accounts from the previous month, there is a short routine that you can run through Club Systems, specifically under Utilities. And Utilities is found at the top here. It's the yellow drill labeled Utilities. And we would go specifically to the one at the bottom where it says Data File Maintenance, and the one that's called Cancel PX Accounts. So what this routine is going to allow you to do is specify a date range of accounts that are expired in your system. So whether it was from the previous month or the ones that have been expired so far this current month, you set your date range accordingly. And it is suggested that you preview the list first before you run this routine. So what this is going to show you on the preview is currently everyone that's set up, that's expired, that has that PX code on their account. And once you've previewed your list and have approved it and you're ready now to run this routine, once you click Run, what this is going to do for you is go in and click Cancel Member on each one of those member accounts. So you're not having to go in and individually, one by one, click Cancel Member on those accounts to officially cancel them out. This will do that for you. Just going back to Accounts and Modify Account, keep in mind that when you're making these changes on the customer's accounts, that you're giving yourself enough time to make these changes. You always want to give yourself a bit of a cushion before the scheduled draft date to ensure that these changes are in the system and that they will take effect for that upcoming billing cycle. If you're trying to make a change, whether it's canceling, freezing, or updating billing information on the day of your billing, it's too late to do it that close to the billing. That change that you made won't take effect to the following billing cycle for that customer. You want to allow yourself at least a minimum of 3 to 4 business days before your scheduled draft date to try to have all of your changes done in the system to ensure that they're going to take effect for that upcoming billing cycle. That concludes our review on modifying of accounts. Thank you.